What are we talking about today?
How do we rebuild trust? I think what you're referring to are mismatched sexual interests or mismatched sexual.
You said that way better than I did.
Hey, you were trying to get into all kinky, when the person
put it in a thing and they don't like the thing and
like
it.
Get it out of there. The first thing we have to do is clear the deck. In order to actually help the partner who's been betrayed feel safe, that person has to take their partner by the hand and walk through that street and start to point out all the potential bonds. And oftentimes the person that has offended the partner, they don't actually know why.
Our question comes from our friend Dallas.
Okay.
How do you handle feeling not good enough for your partner? They're more successful, rich, etc.
The first thing I want to do is to make a list of how I actually contribute to the relationship, because you do contribute to the relationship.
Artlist.io.
Hello and welcome to Rainbow Dreamcatcher,
The Love Podcast.
My name is Nilla. I'm a marriage and family therapist and relationship coach. I travel the world helping individuals and partners learn the skills they need to have happy and healthy relationships.
And I'm Big Sexy, her loving husband and co-host, here to provide levity.
The jokes, the funny stuff. So today,
what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about a topic that I often get this question from couples when they first get started, or partners when they first get started in relationship therapy or relationship coaching. Some event has taken place. Their trust in their partner has been shattered, and we'll talk a little bit about how and why that happens.
Okay.
And they've decided they want to continue with their partnership. And the question is always, how do we rebuild trust? So today I thought we would spend some time talking about what betrayal looks like, the different kinds of betrayal folks maybe experience, and then also practical steps that partners can take if they have experienced betrayal and they want to fix their relationship, they want to reconcile and rebuild. What can you do in really practical ways? Now, of course, this is not therapy advice.
Nope.
I'm going to suggest that if you are having significant challenges in your relationship, you're able to get to a relationship coach or a relationship therapist. Would certainly advise going to someone in your own state or in your country of jurisdiction and residence.
If you have any question about that, be sure to check the disclaimer in the description.
Yeah, so let's dive in. First, I want you to think about, and I was trying to think about this as I was considering our topic for today. What is the number one topic? Well, actually, let's do top 10. Top 10. What breaks trust in relationships, do you think?
Ooh,
Top
okay.
10.
So top 10. Jeez,
Top
okay.
10.
So I'd say number 1, infidelity.
Okay.
Number 2, lying about finances.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Number 3, and this is in no particular order, even though I know we said top 10.
Well, there's no order to these. I'm not going to give them an order, guys. Sorry, I didn't mean to, as if we were ranking them. I didn't actually do a ranking. Sorry. Okay. If I do find a list of this, I will put it in the comments. But go on. So far, anecdotally, You're on the right track. So we've got finances. We've got sexual infidelity, or just infidelity.
Infidelity. I think sexual preferences.
Yeah, sometimes
or like
that can be it.
Presentation of kink, a breaking of.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think what you're referring to are mismatched sexual interests or mismatched sexual.
You said that way better than I did.
Yeah, you were trying to get into all the kinky, when the person
put it in a thing and they don't like the thing and don't like
it. Get it out of there. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, that can break trust.
That can also break trust, right? In the sense that if you are not honest, not that just having kinks or having different sexual interests
but not being open about it.
But the way that you handle those interests, whether you are exploring that on your own and have not enrolled your partner and what that looks like and how that would affect them, that might fall into other areas of betrayal as well. But yeah, you're right. So mismatched sexual interests and sexual drives.
Mismatched political beliefs.
Sometimes, I mean, it does.
A change in political beliefs.
It does. A change in political beliefs is that is something that breaks partners apart. I don't know that it breaks trust so much as it breaks communication.
Okay.
That's an interesting topic. That's a topic I think we'd have to explore just all on its own, right? So I wouldn't necessarily put this in the category that someone like has a different political view, because it's not a betrayal. That's just a change.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
It's just, a growth in one way or another, right? That is or is not pleasing to the partnership. But that's not necessarily betrayal or a break in trust or a breach of trust. Right?
Okay. I mean,
10 might be a bit much. Let's say 5.
Lying, because lying kind of encompasses a lot.
It covers a lot,
right?
Of it, yeah.
And I don't want to. I get to the specifics of like lying about this, lying about this, lying about this. Lying about this, and I think that covers a lot of ground.
It does cover a lot of ground. Like any form of dishonesty is obviously a breach of trust, right? One thing that we haven't mentioned are addictions. Various different addictions. Not just drug addictions,
alcohol addiction, sex addiction,
substance,
porn addiction,
sex porn, gambling, spending, food
Pokemon.
addictions. Yeah, there's a ton of addictions that can have an impact on a relationship, and whether trust has been broken, even if that person is in recovery, and really that person kind of has to be in recovery for trust to start to mend, right? Because, well, we won't get into the differences around addiction. Addiction is one of those ways in which, of course, folks are either because of shame or guilt or just physical need doing things that are counter to their values.
What about parenting?
Parenting's a big one. Particularly when parents put kids in really untenable roles. Like when a parent uses a kid, and not uses, but like puts the kid in between adult situations, it's usually in one of three ways. The kid is either going to be the messenger, meaning like, go tell your mom this, go tell your dad that. Right. But with adult issues, as opposed to like, logistical issues, which are what kids maybe should be, go ask your mom if you can get an ice cream, as opposed to, go ask your dad why he doesn't live with us anymore.
And then give me some ice cream. Right.
So messenger. One is, so the messenger is an unhealthy role. The judge is an unhealthy role. And that's where I have a judgment of the other parent, and I give that judgment of the parent to the child to carry through for me. So I don't think you're a very good person. And like, look at your mom over there sitting around not doing nothing, that kind of thing, right?
Baby, your daddy an asshole.
Well, yeah, and this is not gendered, unfortunately. They're assholes of all stripes.
Right.
And then the last one is the confidant. And this one's the hardest because it seems like it shouldn't be that bad. But this is where adults will take their children and will treat them as if they are adult confidants. Right? So they are confiding in them adult challenges and issues, and as a result, adult problem solving that kids have no control over, they have no understanding of, and they just aren't equipped to deal with.
That's what you hear a lot of people say. Parents say, my kid is my best friend. We talk about everything. You shouldn't you shouldn't talk to your kids about everything.
And listen, I'm all about it. You want to have open communication, but with parents, there do have to be some boundaries.
I'm in my 50s and I don't talk to my mama about everything.
Well, yes.
Still, to this day.
Yes. And again, families of origin are different. There are some families of origin that are very, very close, and they do talk about a lot, and they can still be healthy. But there has to be some clear understanding of developmental role. So here, what we're talking about are, you said parenting in particular. So we're talking about children, not adults.
Not adults, children.
And when we're talking about children, there's a hierarchy there because there's a power imbalance, right? So, yes, we can be good friends with our kids and all that good stuff, but we have to be mindful that structurally there is a power imbalance. That means that parents need to take on different responsibilities than the child.
Okay.
Right. And have different boundaries for the child around their emotional experience. Not that they hide their emotional experience, but like it's different that I share what's happening for me versus sharing sordid details right? That are not going to be helpful to you and your understanding of the situation. Right. This is a parent who, instead of outlining the frame of the picture, like this is what it is, so you kind of understand the boundaries of what's going on, they fill in every single detail of the photograph. Yeah, it's not great. Right. And kids need to be able to fill in their own picture. They need to have their own photograph. Anyway, yes. So that can very easily lead to betrayed feelings.
Okay.
If the partnership is still together. Not if they're divorced, obviously, this is very unhealthy. But if they're still together, this is really, really unhealthy. Yeah. So there's different kinds of betrayal.
Yeah. Right? Okay.
The question that I get, because obviously my work is to help people to reconcile differences, whether that means that they are together or whether they're apart, right? How do you practically rebuild trust once it's broken? So let's say, I don't know, I won the lottery.
Yes. Yeah, we rich.
Somebody did win the $1 billion.
No.
Yes, they did. They did. I know. We say that like we were going to win it.
Oh, man, they took my money.
No.
We had a shot.
We a shot.
Yeah. Everybody got a shot. One person hit it.
Somebody in Oregon. Anyway, but let's say I were to win the lottery and I did not tell you. Would you feel betrayed?
Immediately.
Okay.
Instantly.
And why would you feel betrayed? Because I haven't slept with anybody. I haven't talked bad about you. Why would you feel betrayed in that instance?
Because I feel that we are a partnership, and all things we are a partner in, triumphs and tragedies, we share together, and it's that together part. And if something happens of magnitude that can shift our lives fundamentally, and you don't share that information, that's a betrayal. If you won a scratcher and you won $5 and you didn't tell me about it, I would not feel betrayed, because $5 isn't going to fundamentally change our relationship.
Right.
But $1 billion would fundamentally, absolutely change our relationship.
What about, say, 1,500?
That would fundamentally change.
Okay. So here's what I'm getting at, and not to drill down on
on the price point.
On the price point, right?
but that there are agreements between us that we understand about what we will or what is important to share between us.
Correct.
And the ways it will affect our partnership. And oftentimes when folks' MO is to lie by omission, they think it's not a lie because I didn't sit in your face and lie to you. Now, adults will tell you, you know that's a lie.
Right.
You knew it was a lie when you said it. And we all understand that there is a difference between secrecy and privacy.
Right.
Secrecy being something that is material to you that I know you want to know, that I specifically keep from you for a particular reason. Doesn't really matter what that reason is, but for a particular reason, I keep that from you. And then there is privacy, which we all are entitled to, which are things that are just my stuff,
right?
That I know that you wouldn't be interested in anyway, or that doesn't benefit our relationship in any way, right? Or doesn't alter our relationship anyway. If I stole a candy bar when I was 15, nothing about that is going to alter our relationship. I can keep that private. No, but I'm
just kidding.
Was that a big reveal? Oh no.
Right.
But anything that is outside of the bounds of our agreement, and let's say I didn't know it was outside the bounds of our agreement. Well, once I do know it's outside the bounds of our agreement, right? How do I rebuild trust? So there's a process to building after trust. And it's not an easy process. It's a really difficult process. It requires that the partners each do things very differently.
Okay.
For the person that created the betrayal, instinctually, I see this over and over and over again. The thought is, look, this bomb blew up, right? I didn't expect it to blow up. I didn't mean for it to blow up, but man, it blew everything apart. So the best way to move forward is to take my partner by the hand and very carefully and very lovingly keep walking them up and down the exact same street over and over again and pretend like nothing happened, so that eventually they will maybe also be able to get to a place where they can feel like nothing happened. That doesn't work.
Okay, that somehow didn't sound like it was going to work.
That doesn't work, but that's what most people try to do, right? Like if I messed up, the first thing I want to do is establish safety, and I establish safety by, how do we establish safety? Reliability, right? So I'm not doing the thing no more. Let me show you I'm not doing the thing no more, but it's too late. The bomb has already gone off.
Right.
So you've already put that anxiety into the relationship, right? So the first thing we have to do is clear the deck. And in order to actually help the partner who's been betrayed feel safe, that person, you walking with me, has to take their partner by the hand and walk through that street and start to point out all the potential bombs. Every potential bomb. So let's say that, I don't know, give me a good betrayal. Any betrayals in the news lately? I don't know celebrity news. Y'all know any celebrities that
got betrayed
recently? I don't know.
Oh,
Shakira.
Shakira,
that's right. I don't know how recent this is. It's been in the last year though. Shakira was dating a man. I don't know who it was. She realized that he was cheating on her because she had a specific kind of jam or jelly in the refrigerator that only she ate. And she knew that he didn't eat anything. And I guess he had some other woman up in her house and was eating her food.
Ooh.
And it was like, she knew because somebody was eating her food, and nope, it wasn't him.
I'm going to take a tangent. I ran down really briefly, we'll come back to Shakira.
Yeah.
I ran down a real rabbit hole of guys dressing like a woman in the kitchen.
Interesting, okay.
And their significant other, thinking it was just some other woman in their house, would run up and hit them or beat them, like, what the hell are you doing in my house? And then turn around, ha, it's just me. Somebody was sitting on the couch and they had a mop next to them and the mop had a wig on it.
That's terrible.
And somebody ran up and kicked the mop in the back of the head.
That's terrible. I'm not a fan of pranks, really. You know, people who are pranksters, I'm sure it is hilarious. I have seen and enjoyed many a prank, but don't prank me like that.
Yeah, so that was the prank, was that, you know, how would my spouse react if there was another woman? Terrible. How my wife reacted as another woman in the house.
But you know what that points to? Because the thing about a prank is you have to get a bodily, immediate, emotional response.
Right.
Now imagine what that means about the bond between human beings, that even the appearance that something is threatening that bond immediately sends the body into panic.
Right.
Now, folks think it's funny to panic their partners. Okay. I wouldn't do it. But
I think it's saying something a lot deeper about, you know, the relationship than just ha, you thought it was somebody here.
Well, yeah, because why? Anyway, that might be its own movie.
Sorry, it's obviously a tangent, but yes.
You're fine. You're fine.
That thinking of that made me think of, you know, you said Shakira, some other woman was eating a jelly.
But that's the thing, though. So the betrayed partner.
For my jelly.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. The betrayed partner then has to establish safety, but just pretending like it didn't happen doesn't make it feel safe, right? So the first thing I recommend folks do is just have a day of what we call disclosure. And disclosure is a clearinghouse. Like, I don't know, I kind of grew up in a very religious home.
Okay.
And I think I remember this correctly, that in the Bible, there was something called the Day of Atonement.
That sounds very biblical.
That was a day where all debts were forgiven. I think it came every 7 years, something. I don't know. if you are of this faith or know this history, as y'all know, I'm not super faith-based at all.
Shoot us a message.
Shoot us a message, let us know. But, the debts would be cleared. I thought that was the greatest idea ever. The debts would be cleared after a period of years. But that's what Disclosure Day is about. It's about saying, okay, we now understand that this is a challenging area in our relationship. And for the betrayed partner, it's important that they again set the frame for the partner of what was taking place around the betrayal so that they have a clear idea of what was happening before the deception.
Okay.
Right? Now, I advise folks not to do this improv. Don't improv this. Right? Take some real time, take some real care. And what I advise people to do is that if you have betrayed your partner and you want to make amends, you've been discovered or you have shared that with them and they are angry and upset, understandably, one is to have some empathy for the experience that they're having because their body's going through a crazy experience, right? Which they didn't ask for, that they can't help. But you want to be in that letter as detailed as is helpful. Now, when I say as detailed as is helpful, let's say that it was a sexual infidelity.
Okay.
Right? I want to know the who, the what, the when, and the wheres.
And you can't shaggy this. You can't say it wasn't me.
Can't say it wasn't me, right? Now, sometimes, and this is important for the betrayed partner to remember, sometimes folks don't remember everything that they did in life, right?
Right.
But for the betrayer, you really need to try to dig deep and try to find every single betrayal. Because you want to be able to safely take your partner around and say, watch out for that one. There's also this one. You didn't know that this one was here, but now I'm letting you know that this one is here, and it's a clearance, so you can't be too mad. Right? Like we have agreed that we're going to start on the basis of truth. Now that also puts the betrayed partner in a really unfair situation because they got to deal with all this pain and all this anger about stuff they didn't know about. But I got to come to an agreement that we're going to look forward and not back. Now, that doesn't mean I forgive this person. That doesn't mean that the relationship's going to work out or that everything they did was okay.
Right.
But it does mean that if we're going to give it a shot, there has to be a start date.
All the air has to be clear.
We got to clear the air and there's got to be a clear start date. So the way I take my folks through this is first we have them write a letter. If they want, I have them read the letter out loud with me first. They get a sense of, I don't know what it sounds like because it's really important. If y'all don't know, I'm struggling with my dog while we're talking. My dog, he wants to be a presence, but he doesn't want to be up here. So up here is the only place where he's not going to be super loud, though you may be hearing him struggle around here a bit, but that's okay. We're going to keep it moving. I lost my train of thought.
You're talking about the unfair advantage.
Well, yeah, because they have to be able to work through their anger, which is, and oftentimes a justified anger, right? To be able to actually heal the wound. And that's painful and it's hard. And it doesn't feel fair, but it's necessary. So I then have the betrayed partner read the letter. Whew! That's always tough. Usually tough. Depending. It depends on what.
This is the letter that the betrayer wrote.
The betrayer wrote.
Detailing
the who.
Helpful detailing the who,
what,
when,
where, why of the discovered betrayal and any related betrayals. This is a place of unveiling secrecy.
I imagine that why part's hard.
Well, we don't get into the why.
Okay.
Yeah. We get into the why a little bit later in the process. Because the why is always shifting, and oftentimes the person that has offended the partner, they don't actually know why. Like you would think, right? Because I'm taking these actions and doing these things, but I find honestly, it's usually about 6 to 8 months into the process that they really come to a true understanding of why they did the thing. So I don't get into why at the very beginning, right? Like we don't get into the why, because they don't know. They don't have enough distance to know usually. And it changes, and the why will be different at 6 months, and it will be different at a year, and it will be different at 5 years, right? Why changes. The why is always about intention, and people don't always know their intentions, right? Or they, don't see clearly their own intentions.
Right.
We do the who, the what, the when, the where, and that's just so that the person that's been gaslit and lied to and deceived can make sense of what's actually real, because they've been believing something that hasn't been real for a period of time.
Right. So they need clarity upon, okay, what is actually,
what has actually
what is this
taken
actually
place in my life, right? What has actually happened in this area of our lives, right? And then we have a time of processing before we do any kind of work around rebuilding, because sometimes folks will learn things that they did not anticipate. That my partner has crippling debt, that my partner has
a drug addiction,
a severe drug addiction, that my partner has a history of violence. I mean, there's a lot of different things that can come out, none of which are totally insurmountable. Most of which, I should say, are not totally insurmountable. But we'll lay the groundwork for how we are going to get our work done, right? Because that then tells me what areas we have to focus on as we rebuild trust, right? Once we get through the processing, then we get to the trust building. And this is like very basic and very difficult. What I have people do is sit down and write out what we call a trust ladder, or what I call a trust ladder. I don't know who the we is, but what I call a trust ladder.
You and your clients call it a trust ladder.
Well, I guess they would, because that's what I tell them to call it. And a trust ladder looks at low cost, mid cost, and high cost behaviors to reestablish trust. Let's go through a couple of examples.
Okay.
What's a low cost behavior, do you think, to establish trust? Let's say I found out my partner deceived me. They lost their job 8 months ago, and they've been getting up and going to work and pretending to go to work for 8 months.
Ooh.
Right?
Okay.
So we get the disclosure. We get the shades of like how the lie was built and how it was maintained and who was involved and, you know, who else knew and all those kinds of things, right? What's a low cost behavior?
I think, well, how do you, let me ask this. How do you judge cost?
Okay, so I judge cost. That's a great question. I judge cost by the amount it actually costs me in either effort or difficulty, right? So let me give you a spectrum. Let's use the example we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
A low cost behavior might be, I'm going to let you see my location.
Okay.
Right? So if I've been lying about where I have been, a low cost behavior might be, I'm going to share my location with you. That doesn't
okay, so I was wondering, because I was going to say share my location.
Sure. Doesn't take an awful lot of energy. It's something that is simple. It's very straightforward. Like there's no question marks about it. Very, very simple. Let's say high cost. Let's do a different example for high cost. Let's say someone is having an affair with a coworker or a subordinate or a supervisor, but somebody at work. A high cost behavior might be, you have to get a different job.
Okay.
That's a high cost behavior because that's going to cost time and money and energy and effort. And it's going to require a certain amount of difficulty in order to execute that. It's not something I can just do,
right?
But it's something that we agree must be done, right? And depending on, I've seen folks engage in high cost behaviors, even as far as like, I have to move to a different city. Like we got to move. We can't be here, right? Which is, you know, again, a very high cost behavior because it's going to cost us a lot to do this. Now, this is not a demand from the person that was hurt. What it is an agreement. And what we need to look at it as is a path. You know, back in the 80s, you used to talk about people being in the doghouse.
Mm-hmm.
This is your way out of the doghouse.
Right.
Right? Because otherwise, what happens is between partners, they set up this series of tests. It's like I got to constantly check you. I got to constantly check you. I got to constantly check you. And if those checks are constantly moving, which they are, if we haven't agreed to them, they're constantly moving. Well, now it's just, I'm just walking around trying to catch you. I'm trying to catch you with stuff.
Right.
and the other person feels surveilled.
And there's not any building of trust.
There's no building of trust, right? I'm just surveilling you. So this is something that folks have to agree to. I have them write it down. I have them consider what it will cost them, and then consider what they are willing and not willing to do. Now, if someone is not willing to do something that you need to build trust, that tells you something about your relationship.
Right.
That tells you something about where you are in that relationship. It may not be a relationship you want to reconcile, honestly.
Can help you move forward with whatever decision you need to make there.
Right, right. And conversely, if I see that my partner is actively working to make sure that they hit every single part of that trust ladder consistently over and over, doesn't matter what my mood is, it doesn't matter what your mood is, doesn't matter what the weather is, just consistent, right? That also tells me something about my relationship, right? But it allows me to have a conversation about what it's going to take for us to get back together.
Right.
As opposed to just trying to hodgepodge that and figure it out as we go. It kind of works a little bit that way, but what happens is those wounds don't heal. Right? They really don't. And this is a way of allowing the wounds to heal by agreement. And here's what's so crazy about this. Everybody thinks it's going to take a long time. Like, the first thing people say is like, this person's going to be looking at my phone for the next 10 years. No, they're not going to be looking at your phone for the next 10 years. What typically happens for most relationships, if they heal after betrayal, is that they get to a place where they go, I don't need you to do X, Y, and Z anymore. I'm okay. Right?
Right.
I've seen over the last 6 months, I've seen over the last year that you've been handling our finances responsibly. You don't have to, show me your bank account every day. Right? Or whatever it is that we have.
The trust is being rebuilt.
Because the trust has been rebuilt, and it's by agreement, and it's a result of evidence and not faith. Right?
Right.
What a lot of people do is they go, okay, we're going to get this back together, and I'm just going to hope and pray that you don't do the thing that you just did.
Right.
Don't do that again. Please don't do that again. But they won't check anything. They won't follow up about anything. And I get it. I don't want to be anybody's parent either. And that's why this is time limited and by agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not surveilling you, right? We're agreeing on the measures that it will take for our relationship to be rebuilt. That's it in a nutshell. I mean, it seems really straightforward. It's super hard to do.
I can imagine.
It's very, very difficult to do. We've had to rebuild trust, and we've maybe done something similar in that way in terms of building like active spaces that say, I need you to do X, Y, and Z to demonstrate trust. And then once that trust was rebuilt, then those things just naturally fell away.
Yeah, that was definitely accurate in our situation.
Mm-hmm, for sure. So if y'all have questions about how to rebuild trust, or what kinds of things you want to put into your trust ladder, or if you're just struggling to figure out how to rebuild after some form of betrayal, go ahead and give us a shout. Let us know your story. Let us know the things you're working on. Let us know your questions. You can always hit us up at rainbowdreamcatchertlp@gmail.com. We are also available on all the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, Snapchat, all the things. So yeah, definitely hit us up.
Yeah. Now, do you
have a question?
Let me give you the dog.
Yeah, give me the dog.
I'll see if I can find.
If you're on our Patreon, you're seeing this dog. Or I guess maybe if you're anywhere, you're seeing this dog going back and forth. This is Fox, in case. If you want to know who's panting into the mic, this is Fox. Fox is my 13-year-old Chihuahua. He is very insistent on being a part of the group. He is with me at all times. So you'll see more of Fox, I guess.
While I'm pulling up the information, if you're interested in getting some Rainbow Dreamcatcher merch.
Yeah, look at that shirt. I love it.
You can go to Where Is Big Sexy, and that's where, like WEAR, is Big Sexy.com, and that'll take you to our the merch store. And you can find Rainbow Dreamcatcher merch there. Shout out to our dear friend Angel.
Thanks so much,
who
Angel.
did the artwork.
Angel,
she's amazing.
fantastic.
So definitely grab you some Rainbow Dreamcatcher swag and rock and show your support that way. That really does. One, it helps us out. Two, word of mouth. People, oh, that's a cool shirt. Where did you get that? And you'd be like, well, I listen to this podcast. These people, they talk about love and relationships and human condition.
The whole deal.
And
all of it.
All the things.
All
and
the
then they'd be
things.
happy to tell you all about it.
Cool.
Let's see. Today's question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find something that goes along with what we've been talking about.
Or should we wild card it?
Or I can wild card it if you like. I can just scroll this and hit a doop.
All right. Y'all, this might be crazy, but let's just wild card it.
All right.
Scroll and stop. I'll say stop.
You say stop.
1, 2, down, stop.
All right. All right, here we go. This our question comes from our friend Dallas.
Okay.
And Dallas asks, how do you handle feeling not good enough for your partner if they're more successful, rich, etc.?
Interesting. There's two different ways I would look at that question, and I'm curious as to which one makes the most sense in the situation. So, okay, not knowing what the situation is, there's a couple things that can take place with partnerships and money. The thing to remember, number one, and this is something that even though it makes people uncomfortable, I talk about with all of my couple partners, and that is how they handle and deal with their finances. People tend to have different structures around money depending on, one, how much money they have, the kind of resources that they have, and then the power that that gives in different relational structures.
Okay.
Now, let's say you have someone who is very successful and they love their job.
I know a few people like that.
Yeah, a few people like that. Very successful and they love their job. Sometimes for the partner that is making significantly less, it can feel like their career takes a back seat and is second place. And so often it can feel like a sense, it's like a sense of a lack of appreciation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's really important for that partner is to, and in fact, this is a structure, I don't know if it's true in this case or not, but oftentimes the partner that is doing really well and love their job kind of has an air of benevolence, kind of like, I'm not rude, right? But they kind of expect like gratitude and appreciation and, anybody would want to have that. But then it also leaves the person feeling like, what can I be appreciated for?
Right.
What do I contribute to the relationship? And walking down that road leads me to feeling not good enough. So the first thing I'd say to that partnership is, if that's the structure, the first thing I want to do is to make a list of how I actually contribute to the relationship, because you do contribute to the relationship. It's just not in financial ways, right? Or maybe not as much financially. But it's really important to understand your sense of worth within the relationship. And also, I would outline for just for giggles, right? I would also outline what my partner contributes to the relationship besides just their success.
Okay.
Right? So that we really get a sense of what we are contributing. What I tend to find is that people fall into different roles, and some of those roles are paid and some of those roles are unpaid, right? So how many roles are you filling that are unpaid and therefore feel unappreciated? And then start to find ways to engage appreciation in those spaces, right? I can enroll my partner in that space. We have an appreciation practice.
We've talked about that before.
Which we've talked about before. You can hear it on, do you know which podcast number?
Nope.
We'll link you to the other podcast number for how to express gratitude with your partner. Because it is so vital to feeling good in a relationship, that my partner validates what I do and how I spend my hard work in building ourselves together.
I think it was recently too. I think we've said it. We talked about it a couple of times. I think we recently did episode 25.
Yeah.
We talked about the do's and don'ts of a functional relationship.
That's right. And I think we did talk about there. So if you want to learn more about the State of the Union and how that appreciation conversation can work, certainly go check out either the previous
episode 25.
Episode 25. Check out episode 25 or 24. Listen to them both. They're both good. The second thing I would say is that feelings of not good enough typically don't originate in our adult partnerships. So the other thing I would say to Dallas and to any listener that is struggling with feelings of not good enough, no matter what the reason, is that you want to definitely get into some kind of therapy or coaching, because not good enough starts in childhood. And that tends to come from our families of origin. That tends to come from our early childhood experiences. It tends to shadow how we view the world and how we think the world values us, because oftentimes folks who have that feeling of not good enough were also not valued as children in various ways: abuse, neglect, misunderstanding, lack of identity. Anyone whose parents didn't really have their house in good emotional order for any reason tends to struggle with the results of those childhood encounters. And one of those is feelings of low self-worth. So if you're experiencing feelings of low self-worth, I would certainly advise you to get into therapy. If therapy is too expensive, get into coaching, but get to some place where you can actually work through how to engage feelings of self-worth without having necessarily a lot of outside validation.
Right, and not necessarily comparing yourself to your significant other.
Yep, absolutely. Maybe we'll do an entire show on money.
It's on the list.
We should definitely talk
about
a list
of
money
topics
and finances. It's such a huge and important topic for partners. And so many partners don't talk about it until there's a problem. Super important to talk about finances, talk about it on a regular basis. How do we talk about it? What do we talk about? So maybe, Dallas, your question will not only help some folks out there today, but will spawn some more information that will get out to help folks that are navigating how to deal with partners that have differing levels of financial success.
Yeah, and then if you're not sure how to have that conversation with your significant other, all you got to do is play on that episode of the Rainbow Dreamcatcher the Love podcast.
Don't do that.
And that'll spark the conversation.
Don't do that. Just have a conversation with your partner.
Do that. Just listen, share.
Well, listen and share, and then have
the conversation. I'm not saying in place of the conversation.
It sounded like in place.
No, not in place of. Use that to spark the conversation. If you know how to get it started, start with the episode playing.
Yeah.
And then let's have a conversation about it.
So I guess we gotta create that episode.
Yeah, sounds like we can absolutely do that.
All right.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you, Dallas. Appreciate the question. Almost threw me for a loop because there's so many different ways to approach that. But I appreciate it so much. And I hope that the answer was helpful.
Yeah, and be sure to go to rainbowdreamcatcher.com. You can listen to the podcast, leave a voice message if you want to send us a message that way. You can go to rainbowdreamcatcherthelovepodcast.com if you want to support the podcast via our Patreon. You can definitely sign up if you think the podcast is worth more than $0. You'd be happy to have your support. But you can also join the community for free. We appreciate you. We just want to hear from you and have you engage. Let us know that we're not just talking into the void, but we have people who listen, love, and are enjoying our works.
Thanks so much. So this has been
Rainbow Dreamcatcher, the Love Podcast.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Artlist